Hey everyone, today we're going to be playing Rover Builder. It's a new game out on Steam Early Access, and as the title suggests, it's a game about building rovers. So let's go ahead and load it up and take a look. So in the game's current state, there are 16 different levels, separated across 2 different worlds, and I can't click on any of these, so I assume you have to beat the first set of levels before you can access the second set. But that's alright, we'll go ahead and start with Mission 1. The objective for Mission 1 is to travel to the red telepad. So if we take a look down here, this is the map for Mission 1, and there is a gray starting area. You have to travel across the terrain in the hills and make it to the red telepad, or the objective zone, and if you are able to do that in the rover that you've built, you pass the mission. So let's go ahead and load it up and take a look. So I'm going to clear all, just to start off with a blank slate and how you start normally with a mission. And you can see that there is this block, and along with the block you have your grid, and the grid moves around and follows your mouse. Along with that, it also follows your camera movements, so you can rotate around your rover and the grid will rotate with you. Up in the corner you have your building materials, so you have your steel, which I use to build the frame of the rover. You also have a link which has a ball joint on the end of it, so it's not static like the steel. You also have a axle which can be used to make the steel less static, so if you wanted to rotate around this axis here, you can add a axle, and I can show you that. If we start the gravity, you can see that it rotates. You can also see that the links dropped as well. There's also the spring, so you can do something like that, and that should hold that up. And you also have a piston which can be controlled. If you select it, you can go into options and you can control that by different keys. So I've set extend hydraulics to up arrow and shorten hydraulics to down arrow. And if we start the physics here, I can control the hydraulic with my keyboard. So those are all the building materials I have in the game so far. They also have different pieces that you can add, like wheels, bearings. Bearings will they kind of work like the axle does in this situation, but it's on a joint. So if you wanted the joint to spin, you'd do something like that. Steering probably could be used for a couple different scenarios. The only ones I can think of is, of course, steering. If you put that on a steel frame, you can control it like this. But the thing about it is that when you let go of your keyboard, it centers again. So the only other thing I can think of besides steering that it may be useful for is creating some sort of claw system to create a crane. But I'm sure after playing this I can figure out some other uses for it. And then the final piece is the motor, and that works just like the wheel, but you're able to connect frame to it and we go to options and put in our keys that we want to use to control it and start it up, we can make it spin. So I don't think that this will make it across the map, so let's go ahead and return to garage and clear all, and let's try to make a vehicle. So we'll start off with the front end of the Rover. So I'm going to how do we want to do this? I think we're going to want that a little bigger. So as I was mentioning before, this is another way to use the axle. We're going to use it to make our steering system. There we go. So that should allow us to steer. We'll go ahead and toss on our wheels. If I can get it to snap, there we go. And let's test it out. So if we press left and right, we should get some steering. And I'll rotate the camera so you can kind of see how that works. So when I showed previously this piece here, it slides along the bar, but since I've snapped it onto this bar here, it's staying still and sliding the bar instead, so that allows us to steer. I don't know if the way I've built it allows for the best turning radius, and maybe I wonder if there's any options. No, there's no options to show how far you want it to slide, so maybe that's something that they'll add later, but the turning radius is not the best with this system. So now we have the front of our vehicle. One thing to note is that these arrows here show which way the wheel will spin when pressing forward. So if this is the front of our car, we want to flip that so that one's going the right way. So now that should be good. So we can do something simple and just plop in some tires at the same height, but we'll go ahead and kind of make it look a little nicer. Let's that one's too long. And another feature you can use is the mirror feature. This will allow you to mirror what you're building so that you don't have to try to measure it out with the grid. So I don't know if things like that cause errors though. So if I drag in and then drag too far, you can see that it's overlapping. So I don't always use the mirror feature because those kind of things, as well as creating using it with wheels and stuff, seems to not always work. So sometimes I just do without. we'll go ahead and use it for a little bit here. So let's create the body of our vehicle. Again, nothing too fancy here. Oh. All right. So if we wanted to have some sort of suspension system, we could remove this. Instead of going all the way across, we could just go to here. And then we can add in the axle. Oops, too far. It's going to have to work. But I want to do it on this one here. That way it's not poking out the back. All right. Now we'll add our, let's turn off this. We'll add our tires. I probably could have made those frames a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and do that. Got to make sure your grid's facing the right way. Alright, so how far do we want to go out? Let's just try 3. And we'll do something like that. And hopefully those springs are strong enough to give us a little bit of suspension there. So I think that looks okay, at least for the first level. Let's test it out. Oh, also, so once you have your vehicle ready, instead of having to build it over every time, like if you think that this vehicle might be able to pass the second level, you can go to Rover Gallery and just hit this plus, and then you can load your save it and load it into the next level. So that's a nice feature. So when you hit go, I don't know why the camera does that, but you can see we can kind of have suspension. It's not working very well. I also forgot to make sure my tires were all facing the same way. There we go. Now we can drive forward, and you can see that the suspension is not working at all. So in order to actually get to the map, you have to drive your vehicle onto the teleport and then click teleport. So even though the suspension is awful, we'll go ahead and see how it fares. So you'll get the objective up here, travel to the red telepad, and so far so good. Oh, we lost something. Something broke. There's a couple broken pieces down here. This part's broken. Looks looks like we lost another piece somewhere. Oh, the side. We lost this side here. But I think we're gonna still make it. So there we go. So that wasn't too bad. So now you can head directly to the next mission. Go back to mission control. Here's another. So this is the one we just built. This is one that I built previously. Again, basically the same design. I put a lot of springs in it to help hold the tires straight. We'll see how that one fares on this level. Again, like, this is holding all the way to the right. I mean, you can see that the steering just doesn't work that well. But it's good enough. Good enough to pass the level. 42 seconds, not bad. Alright, well, that's mission 1 complete. I plan on doing more videos going through the missions and showing the crazy designs that that I can come up with in order to beat each level. So hopefully we can come up with something that will get us across some of this terrain, along with some other objectives like collecting supply boxes and bringing them to the telepad. So look forward to those videos coming up soon. If you liked the video, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.